Hello, everybody. I am Renee Main, and welcome to the Hedonistic Way Online Summit, where I'm having unadulterated pillow talk with global thought leaders, disruptors who are disrupting the status quo, kicking ass in life and business, and living stereo, untypical success. Today with me is a woman who words cannot describe how much I love. But I'm going to try. So, so Jen is the owner of Socially Grown and the Social Guild. She does amazing things with social media, and we'll get more into that in a second. But what I really love about Jen is how she lives by her values. She is the most humble person I have ever met, who has accomplished some seriously amazing things, who's worked with some of the biggest names in business. Well, like, you worked with Obama, for God's sake. Like, you know, that's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
massive, right? Can you get big?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, but
Yeah.
massive. So welcome, Jen. Thank you so much for being in
Thank
bed with
you.
me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's nice and cozy in here.
It is. I know it is. So I'm like, right, Dick can do this, and yeah. Anyway,
Right. Right.
so tell us, what is your nickname?
My nickname. Oh,
Yeah.
well, most people call me Jen.
Yeah.
But in high school, my nickname is Hen. Hen.
Hen.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So it started from my best friend in high school when we were 13, and Jen, Hen, it rhymes. And so she started calling me Hen, and then everybody started calling me Hen. And even my Spanish teacher, one day in class, called me, my name in Spanish was Juanita,
Yeah.
and she called me Gallina instead. And I didn't know what that was, and she's like, look it up. And so I looked it up, and it means hen.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
so
adorable.
she kept calling me Gallina for the rest of the year. It was funny. Yeah.
I love that. That's cool. Tell us, what is on your bedside table?
Oh, well, right now there's a glass of water and an essential oil diffuser.
Yeah.
But earlier today there was a box of Thin Mint cookies.
Also,
Girl Scout cookies.
Yes, I seen an image of those that you shared. Was it last week or whenever it was?
Yeah, 14 boxes of them.
Yes, that's
Yeah, well, I have a house full of teenage boys, so
yeah.
I have an excuse, but I snuck one box of Thin Mints away, and I have them here.
Nice. I love that. What essential oil do you like to diffuse in your room?
Oh, I love Serenity. It's from doTERRA,
Yes.
and it's like a combination of lavender and all these other really nice, but it's just like a peaceful, calming. I need calming. Everything, like, I don't need anything to be energizing in my life. I need to just calm.
Yeah.
And so I feel like my bedroom is a retreat from, I have a house full of boys.
Yeah.
I'm a single mom, and this is like my sacred space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Thin Mints and Serenity.
Beautiful. I love it. And what's turning you on at the moment?
Well, where do I begin? Everything in life is magical at the moment. I felt it since the beginning of, well, actually, I felt it in starting in like October, November, and there was this momentum that started.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really sure what it was because it's been a hectic couple of years.
Yeah.
But the last, I think, like 6 to 8 weeks have just been super intense. And like, I guess, like, I've just been, like, everything's coming true. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Like, coming true. Everything, all the seeds that I planted and all of the wishes that I had and all of the dreams that I had are all coming to fruition. And it's so freaking amazing. So that whole idea is turning me on, because this idea that I don't know what's next, but it's going to be freaking awesome. And I just can't wait. So that's the thing. Like I noticed that I met an incredible man and he's phenomenal. But I was like going back through my journal and I noticed that I wrote down what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And he's like all of it, So I think I'm a huge fan of like writing things down and being really clear on what you want, even when you can't see it happening, even when your life is chaos and everything is spinning. And because now it's all happening and I'm just kind of receiving, which is really nice.
That's beautiful. So I'm curious to know, Jen, when you were in that space and you talk about, you're very clear on what you wanted, but you kind of almost, like, it sounds like you almost forgot about that. So you kind of wrote it and put it aside and continued living your life every day. Tell us about how then, I want to say, how you got through, and like I want to ask you about believing in it even when the last couple of years have been chaos. So how do you believe, how do you continue to believe and create this? Because it's okay now because you're on the other side of it and you're receiving, which is this beautiful space to be in, but there's that element of murkiness. How did you continue to believe in that moment?
That's such a good question. It's such a good question. I think that now I believe, because it's happened so many times in my life, that now I know that things get really dark and gloomy and scary, but eventually you get through that phase and then there's light again.
Yeah.
And it's like seasons and cycles and, waves and full moons and all of those things. There's a cycle of light and dark.
Yeah.
And none of our lives are all of one thing. It really does depend on, are you planting the seeds? Like, you can't be a farmer and not plant seeds. Like, you have to get out and do the work. You can't just sit back and, harvest all the time. Yeah. So there are times where it's cold or it's rainy or it's dark and we're planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds and nothing is growing. But I just believe in that cycle, and I know that it's happened so many times before that I trust that it's going to happen again, but I never know when it's going to happen again. And that's the scary part. And this particular time of, I don't know what we want to call it. I mean, chaos or darkness or whatever, was a lot longer than some of the other cycles I've been through.
Yeah.
And I think, and you and I have talked about this before, I think that having a core set of values of who you are, and what kind of person do I want to be in this moment? What kind of person? So I would get it down to, by the hour or by the minute, of who do I want to be? Who do I want to be for my kids? Who do I want them to see? So I'm not sure. It's just who do I want to be now today, and making sure that I'm doing that every step of the way. And that's really helped me stay on track. Through the dark times, I just was like, no, if I stay clear and true to who I am, then I'll get to where I need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, something that you said just then, Jen, is, and I think, and as I think I might have even said to you yesterday when we caught up, but, your biggest gift for me, and like I admire it so deeply, is your ability to choose that moment to moment, for you to stand by your values. So it is I'm sure it is wavering at times, but you still hold your own soul in that moment. What I want to ask you then is, you mentioned like your boys and like your kids, is you thought, who do I want to show them? So because in say personal development, in business or whatever it is, people will often say, you need to do it for yourself. You need to fill your own cup. You need to be able to do it for you. But I think sometimes when you are in that, whatever you call it, just call it dark, whatever. Sometimes it is, you do need to reach for someone else, because your bond with your child is enough to go, who do I want to be for them? So tell me about how you did that in that moment.
Well, it comes back to, remember when I was telling you about writing in my journal?
Yeah.
I wrote down just like, what do I want my life to look like? Not 70 years from now or whatever, but really, what do I want my life to look like in all areas? So I just wrote a few sentences, and I want to be connected to my kids from now until always. I don't necessarily need them to be doctors and lawyers and have big fancy houses and drive fancy cars. That's not value for me. My value is to stay connected with them and to have them be valued and heard and loved and know that they're respected for who they are. So for me, that's a huge value. And that looks different than maybe I thought it did a while ago. I think for me, and being a parent and grow, I mean, they're teenagers now. So it's like they're becoming adults. And so I need to stay connected in a different way than you do with an 8-year-old or a 4-year-old. And so when they're 16, like they don't really want to have much to do with their mom. They just want me to pay for things. So finding the ways to stay connected with them. And I wrote that down, like, how do I want to live? Where do I want to live? And this comes into business too, because understanding yourself and what's valuable to you is success. That's success. It's not a mansion or $1 million, that random 7-figure, 6-figure BS nonsense. It's not the laptop lifestyle or living on the beach. I mean, it is who you are, and that's success. And so that's been a big thing for me. And that's what I teach so in the Social Guild, I have members who are social media managers, and we spend more time talking about that than what time do I post on Facebook and how do I get a video on Instagram? It's much more about, do you really need 6 figures or 7 figures, or do you need to figure out what's important for you and do that? So for me, it's important I don't want to have an office, right? Many times over my career, like I've been doing this now for 10 years. Many times I've thought, I want to have an office, right? Because that's a real business.
That's right. I remember you and I years ago were chatting about that, and you were thinking about it.
I mean, it comes and goes, especially when I feel kind of like socially isolated. I'm like, I want to work with cool people. And so, but an office is not in line with my values. It's not. It really isn't. I don't want to have to go into an office. I don't want to have employees who have to go into an office. Like, I want them to be free. So every morning I get to have breakfast with my kids, and we all sit around and we talk about what's going on. And for me, that's valuable. So I might have gotten a little bit off track there, but it's, it's that, and showing my kids that maybe like what I value, and explaining it to them, and finding out what they value, so that we can all grow together, but connected, but still independently.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And I think that, like, for me, what comes to mind is that's pure resilience. It is, and it's guiding them to be self-responsible and self-aware, but connected at the same time, so.
Right. And understanding like what success means for them. Success, society is always trying to tell us that success in school is grades, good grades, or perfect attendance, or, the star in the school play, or the trophy for the team. And those are all the kid versions of success measures entrepreneurs, we have the different ones,
Yeah.
And so it's like helping them understand that it's not necessarily about winning the trophy. It's more about weren't even on the team last year, and this year you
Yes.
actually know how to play and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's helping them build their own inner value and their own inner sense of who they are.
Definitely, definitely. And it is, and it's just, and this cross-pollinates over every single area. I've got a green dot. Can you see that?
On your forehead, yeah.
On my forehead.
There you go. Just stay right there, and it'll be right in your third eye.
I just need to there you go. Something that we went on our first high school tour last night, and one of the things that they said in one of the slides was we're prepared. No, the first slide was what employees are looking for. They're looking for this. They're critical thinking. They're looking for this.
Right.
And the next slide, they said, we're preparing them to be 21st century ready.
Oh.
And there was that part of me that kind of went, bullshit,
Yeah, right.
And I don't even know why I'm sharing this, but I'll just trust that we're supposed to go there. But it's being able, no matter what age you are, being able to navigate through what success is to you and what the everyday looks like for you, and yes, you can dream, but what are you actually doing in this moment?
Right.
That dream to be alive in you right now.
Right.
And, and that cross-pollinates into a lot of areas and a lot of skills, and the preparation then in that, you go, for me last night, I'm just trying to process what I'm actually trying to say, and I don't even really know, in all honesty. I was looking at it going, do I want to prepare my kids? Is that the purpose of high school? To prepare them to be a good employee?
Right.
To me, I thought that is such a small portion of life.
Right.
And happiness. And so, it was an interesting moment for me where I was just able to then stop in that moment and go, hang on a minute, what is happening within my body right now? How is my body responding to that? Because we are more than one thing, and yesterday we spoke about how your journey in business, and as I spoke about brief earlier when we started this conversation, is you've worked with incredible people. So you've done the social media strategy for Obama, for Tony Robbins, for Frank Kern, amazing people. You have been invited to speak on huge stages, huge audiences, for massive amounts of money, and you've turned some down because they weren't aligned with who you are and how you operate in your business, and who you are, how you want to show up in the world. So tell me about that conversation that you had with yourself.
Well, this comes back to a conversation that you and I had a couple years ago, and where we were talking about who I am and what I value, which is what we talk about, and we came to this conclusion that I have this sonic boom idea, where I have this ability to create a massive impact for someone. And so that's what I teach other people how to do and all that sort of stuff. But like, if I'm going to go into Tony Robbins' business and be able to amplify what it is that he does using Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and whatever, like it is like a sonic boom or like a nuclear explosion. It's just because I know how to get into the core of who they are and what they want to do to amplify it to a huge amount. Right.
Yes.
So understanding the power of that makes me really careful about who I help with my little superpower.
Yeah.
I'm not the only person in the world who has that superpower. There's a lot of people who know how to do this stuff now, and it's really good. I'm not saying that, but my point is all of us, all the people who are watching this and all the people who have an ability to step into someone's business or to step into someone's organization or their school or whatever, and dramatically impact their exposure, their results. Reporters have this ability, TV stations, all that sort of stuff. You're amplifying a message, you're amplifying something. And you get to choose who you amplify and who you don't. And now I've learned that there's just some things I don't want to amplify. And it doesn't matter how much money it is, because, recently, I was approached by an organization, and they have a lot of money, a lot of money, and they need a social strategy, and they need somebody to help get their message out. But their core message is the direct opposite of what I believe is good for humanity. And, it was a battle for me because single mom, I got to pay the bills, I got to pay the mortgage, got to do all these things. But I couldn't do it. I was like, if they're successful and, all that sort of stuff, it's so against it is really against what I believe in. Although I could do it, I can't do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so then how then do you go there, very real human needs that you're a single mom, like you need to make money, like we all need to make money. And they're real things that we actually need to food on the table, to pay our bills, to do all of these things. How then do you make such a big decision to go, no, like it's that level of trust. And I think that's what I want to talk about. What I want to ask you about is there must be another trust that if I say no to this, something else will come along. Or tell me about how that is working for you.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great. Like there's sometimes where you say no to something and then you're like, ugh, what do I do? And then I have to really go in and count my pennies and really figure out how we're gonna stretch the budget or whatever to get everything done. But I know that in my heart and in my soul, I don't feel I have done it. And I have aligned myself with people and businesses and political organizations that I am not aligned with. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And every time I have to do something, I notice that I feel something is off. And either it's the way we communicate, or it's not always anything too airy-fairy. Sometimes it's just, you notice that the way they talk to you seems a bit harsh, or they're demanding things that weren't what you agreed. And, it's like those kind of signs along the way. Where it starts to wear away at you. And when you think about that client, you're just like, oh. And that feeling, if I feel about you or your business, that's not a good fit.
Absolutely.
And so I know that's not good, that I'm not doing my best work. My best work comes when I can't freaking wait to log in and go, oh, we got a new thing and we got a new blog post. I can't wait to amplify it. And I can't wait to see who responds, or those things are what light me up. And that I like connecting with clients like that. So what I do, you asked how do I find it or whatever. I just kind of tread really carefully. I ask a lot of questions. I listen to how people talk and the kinds of words that they use and the kinds of the kinds of people that they align themselves with, or I find out what they've been doing for social media in the past. And that always gives me a lot of indications of where their mind is and what they're looking for. Usually for me personally, if they're just super profit driven and we just need the ROI and we need this and I'm kind of over that now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, we need to make money and we need to make this profitable.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's, this is not, for me, it's not good to make money at all costs.
Yes. Yeah.
That get rich quick, stuff is just not, I'm not a good fit for that. So I listen and ask a lot of questions, and that's how I find the right people. Also, I've learned, especially here in America, that by speaking openly on my Facebook page, the right kind of people, right for me, are attracted and drawn, and the not right people are repelled. And especially, like, you and I spoke about yesterday, America's really divided politically, and it's a really difficult time for people. And for a long time, I was silent because I was afraid that I was pushing business away, which I was. Because I was so open politically about my views. And so I was repelling, like, more than, half the population were not in agreement with me. And so we're not going to do business with me. And that had a financial impact. It had a big impact on my bottom line. But what I found was, once I resumed speaking freely, the people who I'm aligned with were energized. And so, like, all of a sudden, this little tiny spark turned into a flame, turned into a, and now it's kind of like a roaring fire, and we're all huddled around it, and it feels so
beautiful.
It's, Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I love what you just said there, is that you being open around, on Facebook, it's not just, telling people what you think that they want to hear, or being on the fence. And I love that then the ripple effect, and again, your sonic boom superpower of just, and every time you say that and I say that, I just go, I get a big hat on. And but you then sharing, pick a side of the fence, like jump on board, share your truth, speak your truth, and trust then that the right people will come, and I love that, because, I think that then we safeguard these social media streams and thinking that we're doing the right thing. But it can actually work in our favor. So I love what you're saying.
And it went against, like, a lot of business coaches. My business coaches at the time were saying, shut it down. Like, no. And I get it. And it's difficult, but for me personally, it was very helpful to speak up. And this is something that I teach for businesses and for individuals in social media too, to find, I like to look for 5 key things that you stand for that really embody you. I call them like your pillars, that like hold up the Parthenon. And so finding out what those things are, and they change over time, and they're silly things. They have nothing to do with what you do for business. So for me, like, mine are like bacon. I talk about bacon all the time.
A lot.
Or I like bourbon. I know.
Did you see the bacon chutney?
Oh, yes. I love it.
I thought of you when I seen it.
See, it works. So bacon and bourbon and homeschooling and, being a single mom and, that sort of stuff. And thinking of those things that have nothing to do with business. And for me, I like that, because what it does is it gives me, like an octopus, it's like little tentacles out into the social media universe that different people can latch onto. Like the people who love bacon can latch onto that, and they're like, yeah, Jen's that social media girl who loves bacon. Or, oh, you're homeschooling too. Wow, I want questions about homeschooling. Or you love bourbon. Here's this bourbon thing. And And all of those things come together to make you a well-rounded whole 3D person.
Yes.
And for businesses and individuals and everybody could do that. And it's, if politics is one of your things, or religion is one of your things, or, you know, my sister is in sign language. And so sign language is one of her things. And it becomes something to talk about. Anyway, that's, yeah. But
I love that.
It's really helpful for me to
Yeah.
learn. And so then you get to talk about things that you care about and that you're passionate about. And it's not just buy my stuff, join my course, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, and that's why, you know, I wanted to chat to you today about the hedonistic way and be a part of this, because that is something that there's a gazillion things that I love about you, but that is something that I love about you, is that your approach, you know, your business coach said, get it down, but you have such a different approach to how you approach your business. And, you know, the cycles then, you know, that we have within that, and you are able to use your discernment and go, you know what, no, this works for me and this feels good, which is so amazing. And those tentacles that you were just talking about, and like becoming a 3D, you know, person, and you know, you said it so beautifully, as you always do. Then there's so much around at the minute with these Facebook changes and conversations, and give me an emoji, comment to this post because I'm only going to see a certain amount of da-da-da-da-da, all that. It's such a lack. I don't know. For me, I read it and I just go, oh, it doesn't feel right. Like it just, I don't know. It just.
They're tricks. They're just tricks. And the algorithm is tricky right now, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's happened so many times over the last 10 years. There's the algorithm is always changing.
Yes.
And Facebook is trying to stay relevant, which they have to do. Otherwise, they would be MySpace.
Yes.
And nobody would be there. So they're staying at the top for a very, very long time because they keep doing this to us.
Yes.
So that it works. It just sucks for people who are trying to do business.
Yeah.
So you've got to stay on top of it, and you've got to be interesting, and you have to engage with people, and you have to be a real person. And sometimes you step away and then come back again, but you've got to be there and show up on a regular basis and talk to people about things that they care about, because otherwise you end up doing tricks or paying for everything.
Yes.
So
and that's
other thing to keep in mind too. Sorry to
no, you're right. Go.
That sometimes the social cues of likes and engagement and shares and comments and stuff, sometimes those are not a good measure of what's working and what's not. They're easy to measure, but it's what people are still reach out to you. If you touch a nerve, or if you strike a chord with people and you get to a point where you're asking for the business, or you're asking them to take a step with you, or you're raising interesting questions about whatever it is you do, people will take action. They will. And, but it's not always likes and comments and shares. So I just want people to know that, like, just because they're not liking your post doesn't mean you should stop.
Yes.
And having fewer posts, but more interesting ones, are much better than having a post every day that sucks.
Yes.
So if you have like one super cool post every week that really gets people going, then that's good. So, yeah.
I always love your approach around social, and I think that's when you're saying before about the 5 things and the tentacles, and be interesting, and that is one thing then that anybody can use, is to stay relevant, to stay interesting, because should we ever, like, yes, you have to be on top of everything that's going on, but do we need to be on top of every single Facebook algorithm? You know, like, because I don't know, like, I see it there and I just go, I don't really care. Right. Is that me being a bad business owner?
You're the worst. No. I think it's important for us to stay focused on the whole purpose of what it is that you're doing here, right? And the
Yeah.
focus is